Alright, so Bardock has officially released in Gekishin Squadra this week, and this guy is crazy powerful. A lot of us will consider this guy as the best tank moving forward, even over Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. The amount of control this guy has over the field, what he just decides you do as an opponent, is really dumb. And very luckily, he is quite a straightforward character, but nonetheless, we will be making a guide for him, talking about which skills to level up first, what his best divine combo cards are, and everything about Bardock, even some tips and tricks for you guys to keep in mind. So hope you guys do enjoy the video, and if you have any other recommendations for other guides, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, and I will get to them as soon as I possibly can. I hope you guys do enjoy this one, and thanks for watching. So firstly, we'll be talking about his passive skill. So this Rebel Warrior passive skill gives him more damage reduction the more attacks he would receive in an interaction. So what happens is the revenge gauge is filled up each time he does take damage, and the higher that the gauge is, the more damage reduction he actually does gain. Then the gauge will gradually deplete if no damage is taken for a set period. So this does take a little bit of time to build up, but I think it could be quite nice in the laning phase. It's essentially like an extra steel skin on top of what he already has, which is pretty cool, and I find it to be decently effective. I mean, we could see in this clip that's on the screen, the numbers do gradually go down from about what 56 per rush attack to nearly 40 per rush attack, which is quite a decrease in the overall damage that he would take in general. Now, of course, the gauge does pretty quickly start to deplete once you stop being in an interaction. However, it does take close to 5-ish seconds for the actual gauge to stop depleting, which is really nice. So if you do get back into an interaction right away, you will still have some of the gauge available with extra damage reduction, which is quite nice for this guy. Now, why this gauge is important to be filled up is he goes into a powered up state for his rush attacks once this is ready. So when it comes to his rush attacks, normally it's just a normal physical attack, nothing really too crazy. However, the higher that revenge gauge under his HP bar is, the more his movement speed actually does increase, which means that he'll be just doing more damage generally, which I find really nice for a laning phase and pushing people off. Then if the gauge is full, his attacks actually become AoE attacks, which would not only deal increased damage, but it does just allow you to even push the enemy further in case they're trying to gang up on you. It's really nice, but also if you're trying to even just target one opponent, doing extra damage to the other opponent on the side is good as well, because eventually, you know, it's more likely that one of them will push away compared to the other, and then maybe you could get an advantage off that, or you could at least push them away and then make sure you get Kai. You could attack Kai at the same time that you're attacking these enemies. I think it's just pretty cool. Honestly, I do like this AoE rush attack for early game. I think it's very nice. Now, we can talk about his Super Saiyan transformation finally. This could be used at level 7. He'll gain base HP, armor, and all attack up. Just the basic package for these tank transformations. Then what happens is he actually receives less damage when Rebel Warrior is built up. So basically more damage reduction, which is really nice. Then the duration that the gauge is boosted is increased. So as we see, probably a comparison will be on screen. There's the base form and Super Saiyan, transformation differences. The Super Saiyan one lasts an extra second or two, which is, quite effective, and it will be really nice for these more drawn out fights since, we're still in like a boss is very important meta, but team fights are very often taken right before or during boss even. So Bardock having this passive skill will be quite useful for him all around. And again, once we get into his skills, we'll see Bardock is very good at disrupting the enemy and letting damage be received, just being a very tanky character. So W Bardock on that. And from here, we'll hop into his skills and have a showcase for them. Alright, so starting off, we have Bardock's skill 1, which is the Rebellion Smash. This is a guaranteed attack that pummels a target enemy and sends them flying. Then if the enemy would hit either a wall or another foe, they would both receive extra damage and a movement speed down debuff. So this skill 1 has 3 stocks in it at just level 1 alone, which is just super valuable. And again, we could see it does have okay range early on. I find this to be very nice for the laning phase. You know, you're able to push the enemies back a considerable amount, honestly, and considering that you could just basically chain this into one another. Look how much, you know, of a range that it pushes them back. I mean, almost out of view, which is really good, honestly, if you need to make space against your enemy, or again, if you're trying to secure a kill on them, you really want to angle this a certain way to make sure the enemies either hit each other or do something like you would with Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, where that will allow them to hit a wall and they'll take extra damage. But a really underrated part of this is probably the movement speed down. I feel like it does last like a decent second or two, and that could allow you to secure a kill against an enemy. So it's really just making sure you aim this properly. Again, I said this earlier, but Bardock is a straightforward character. We can go ahead and have Vegeta just follow us over to a wall, which should be up here. And if we're just able to have Vegeta target me, we could hit him into this wall right here. And then you see the movement speed down, a debuff on top. It's not very difficult to get at all, and it does do extra damage whenever you do land that. So really nice. For some reason, it's not applying it twice, but training mode sometimes is a bit silly. That does work. When it's in game, it does work, and it is pretty effective. I promise you all that. So again, this is a very powerful move. I mean, it's about what, 7 seconds for this to kind of stock back up again. This is really good. I do like this move quite a bit overall, and it just has multiple uses. So that is his skill 1. Next, we have Bardock's skill 2 ability, which is the Wild Roar. This is one of the most broken, dumb abilities I think I've seen in this game. If not just, you know, could you say this could be the best move in the game? It could be. It's really stupid. It forcibly draws enemy towards him whilst he guards and counters. What it does is applies the wrath effects, and it makes the enemies basically forcibly move towards you and do rush attacks. As they attack you, they will also receive damage on their end. You get extra HP if you apply to multiple enemy heroes, which is possible, and they'll all move towards you and interrupt what they're doing. If they're trying to do a skill, if they're trying to do an ultimate, you interrupt it and cancel it out. They just stop what they're doing and they will walk towards you very slowly. This is insane for boss secures. This is insane for trying to get Kai. This is insane for trying to push someone off a tower. Like, so many situations you could use this in. If you're trying to, again, get an enemy from a Gekishin bursting your tower and they're about to reach it before you have, let's say you have max skill 3 here. Look at the range here. That's crazy. You know, to be fair, I should show the different levels that this range is at, just so you guys can see it. I'm sure, you know, of course, if you're going to use Bardock, you will be able to see it here, but I do want to show, just in case, you know, you're like, oh, should I get Bardock? Do I, you know, how good is Bardock? How do I use Bardock? You can see, of course, the range will increase with each level. Now, the only like thing about this skill is that it's about a 15-second cooldown, but it's not really that big of a deal. And you know, it's funny, again, you get extra HP that'll basically negate a lot of the damage you may take from these enemy heroes. Let's make Vegeta level 8 right here. Actually, that's the ally hero. I'm kind of dumb, guys. My bad. We'll make Vegeta level 8 right here. And again, we can make Vegeta draw towards us. You see, the damage that we take is basically negated from what Vegeta is able to do. And we do a little bit of extra damage from which, again, the damage that Bardock does with this isn't anything too crazy. But the fact that he just punishes the enemies on top of that is really insane. And again, you could do some pretty funny things with this. So again, let's say Oob's right here on boss, trying to get Oob away from boss. You pull Oob towards you, you could actually ult during that and cancel him out and then just push Oob away. Or you could also use your other skills. Let's say, again, you're trying to escape a situation, you're getting rushed at, you could use this skill 3, and then you fly away and you get out of the situation. Like, you're gone. Goodbye. You know, skill 3 we'll talk about later. It's funny, I think skill 3 is pretty good as a mobility move, getting away situations. Skill 2 could help you utilize that. Again, you're trying to make distance from someone, you could force them away from an ally, then you push them away and they're gone. goodbye. Well, actually, they're kind of still moving towards you forcibly for that second, but you guys get the point. The amount of control you have starting from the skill 2 is insane. Like, and the fact that you can just ult them away after that, like, they're gone, goodbye. Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. And again, we'll have Vegeta go and attack us, just so you guys could see. This applies to multiple enemies. Well, this guy's gonna want to show off and transform first, but we'll have Vegeta just follow-ups here. And then we could see, look at this range that I apply Wrath to both these characters. Now again, this guy right here is not, you know, it's not gonna move towards us, but you guys kind of get what I'm talking about there, where this ability is actually just like unfair. It's actually not. It's too good. It's too good. Like I will gas and juice this ability for like ever. And by the way, it does work in tandem with his passive skill. Look how fast it built that passive skill up. And again, if we transform into Super Saiyan Bardock on top of this, let's get him transformed here. We got this. Easy. And imagine when he's having multiple enemies in him, that's an easy full gauge, which could then allow him to do AoE rush attacks, which it's so silly. Again, we talked about his passive earlier, but it's a dumb strong ability that this guy has, and this makes sure you utilize this very well. You do need to make sure you don't like spam it every second, of course, but as long as you have this up towards boss, like you could just like, again, I tried playing Oobs for a couple games. Bardock just targets me. What am I gonna do? You know, like Bardock just like goes against me, and if your teammates aren't peeling for you, even then it's like hard to peel when everyone's getting wrathed anyways and pushed away. Like it's pretty nasty. It's pretty nasty. All right, so now we have a Bardock skill 3, which is a lot more niche, I would say, and it's like situational. So this skill 3 is called the Raging Charge. You move at a high speed in a set direction towards an ally or an enemy while attacking. If you do hit an enemy hero or boss, he will perform an uppercut, and he could stagger enemy heroes that are hit. So he also has the ability to apply movement speed down to enemies he hits once he's moved a certain distance, and the further that he moves, the more movement speed down and stagger duration that he will actually be providing to the enemy. So again, we could hit Vegeta from right here, very small stagger, very minuscule, not really lasting a very long time. But let's say let's go all the way over here and see Vegeta's barely in range. You see right there, the stagger does last longer and the movement speed down debuff is farther. And again, we can continue going. Okay, let's see, you know, let's unlock, like if you are someone that unlocks your camera and you can see, you know, oh, your ally's attacking Vegeta right here, you can go ahead and aim Bardock towards Vegeta, bam, and you're able to see that, hey, you're able to hit this a lot, you know, more effectively. And this is more so on PC. I think on console, it's gonna be able to zoom out a little more easier if you're on controller specifically. But unlocking your camera could be useful for this move because, again, you're able to see your enemy heroes as long as your ally hero has them in vision. For example, like we could see how this field of vision we could see because our ally hero's right there, whilst we usually wouldn't be able to see what's going on. So again, maybe Vegeta's attacking Goku, we can go ahead and get all the way over there, and then let's say I stun Vegeta right there, for example. Now, as you can see, we are also able to move whilst we use this. So I think there's two ways you could move this move. In an offensive way or a defensive way. Now, while I think this move is really nice, defending, right? It's really good. Once it increases, you're able to get away a pretty far distance. The issue with that is Bardock is going to be your front line, right? So because Bardock is your front line, like you're not gonna be potentially using that escape maneuver, I think 9 out of 10 times, because Bardock is going to be the one pushing in. Now, in terms of pushing in, again, it's very situational. It's a little hard to control, especially if the enemies are moving around. We can go ahead and see, you know, just like moving Bardock around. It's like a little weird. Sometimes you can miss it and then it ends. And if the enemy's like moving around a certain way, it can be a little hard to hit, right? The enemy has to be kind of almost stationary for you to make sure you hit it. So that's why I also say it's very niche scenarios. Now, I believe the higher the level of the skill is, the more that it will actually go on for. As we see right here, it does last slightly longer, but it's again a move that could be good. It's like a potential man kind of, where I think if you do land it, you have great success. You're like, oh man, I love skill 3. But then, you know, the other 8 times you use it, you whiff it. It's kind of what I feel like about this move specifically. I think it's a decent one, but you really want to make sure you're aware of your surroundings. If you are in comms and you have your teammates working with you and you're able to land this, that could be good. But look how fast he moves. It's just a little hard to control it, especially, you know, if you're trying to land it off screen. You need to make sure that you are knowing where you're aiming from, right? And, you know, obviously, the more practice you have with this, the better you can be with it. But just keep in mind that you could also technically just leave yourself a little open or rush into a situation that maybe you shouldn't have in the first place, depending on how fast you rush. But this is really good mobility. It's just, again, you know, if you're trying to use it for escaping, you're not going to most of the time because Bardock's so tanky anyways. So if you're playing Bardock good, this is not really a necessary tool. All right, and finally we have Bardock's ultimate. This is the Riot Javelin. It'll just push enemy heroes back in a set direction and can carry along multiple enemy heroes. It will just forcibly move them back until it hits a wall. Now, I actually find this move to be quite effective for, you know, getting enemies off boss or towers. Like, I think it's really nice. At level 1, it's definitely not really doing, I didn't mean to move Vegeta there. It's definitely not hitting a wide range. You need to really focus on just one enemy. But I think once you get to like at least level 2, you're able to focus a decent amount of enemy heroes. And look how far it pushes them back, all the way just like out of bounds. Like, it is very effective and it is very quick with it as well. And then we can go ahead and actually I need to go to level 11 to max this out right here. But once we're able to get the ult maxed out, it pushes them an insane amount like far back. So like if you're in a situation where say both enemy teams each got 2 bosses and you need to really protect your tower, Bardock is so good for this. Because again, look how far back that this goes. Is this not insane, the amount of space that you make with this skill? It's really good at this max level. And again, it doesn't do the craziest amounts of damage, but look at that. Look how far back Vegeta went on that skill. That's pretty crazy. Now you're also able to again cancel skill 2 into this, as we see right here. Goodbye, you're gone, right? And you're able to just remove someone from a boss. Even at just having this at skill level 1, it is still an effective move, and I do like it quite a bit. I would argue it's even I would argue it's kind of better than Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta's ultimate to a certain extent, because like when we talk about Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta's ultimate, it's a consistent like beam that's pushing you away, but it's not taking you completely out of the fight. Now, to be fair, this skill, like moving you out of a fight like against a boss, might not really happen well because there's a lot of walls. This move can stop upon them hitting a wall, but I just think that the speed that this does push away and the like amount of time that it takes for this skill to come back, which honestly it's in a pretty low cooldown, 65 seconds, very similar to Vegeta's ultimate. You're gonna have this available for basically every boss. It also does allow you to get a very quick, sneaky, you know, max burst on a tower if you are in a situation where you might need to do that. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, I mean, again, when it comes to Bardock, I think he just overall has good skills, and the Riot Javelin is a great ultimate just in terms of making sure you're able to, again, continue to move the enemies off boss or keep their attention and peel for your allies. Like, Bardock is such a great peel character, which is what makes a really good tank. All right, next we have Bardock's skill level order. And just to make things very simple, I recommend making sure you focus on skill 2 and skill 1 respectively. Those 2 skills are going to be the most impactful for him throughout most of the match. Then after, I would focus on getting his ultimate, then skill 3 last. In all honesty, I would recommend skipping skill 3 whenever possible. However, if you're someone who does like to have one in every skill, you could get one stock, but I wouldn't really invest into any more than just one into your skill 3 because you're just going to be making things worse for you inherently. Now, when it comes to early game, let's say all the way up to level 5, this is how I would have Bardock skills looking like. First input, you should make sure you do get skill 1, then skill 2, just because skill 1 will be useful for you when you're trying to farm mobs. Don't use too much of this early game. You want to make sure that you save it for laning phase, or when you're actually fighting the enemy and contesting for Kai. But that's pretty much it. Then when you hit level 4, make sure you get a second input into skill 2. Then finally, at level 5, you get your ultimate off. Again, very basic, very easy. This is how you should be looking like at level 5. Then we can go ahead and talk about all the way to level 7 for now. You get a second application into skill 1. Then at level 7 specifically, you skip skill 3 entirely. At least that's what I personally recommend. Then when you hit level 8, you're able to get both your skill 2 and your skill 1 maxed out. Again, this is just going to be the most impactful for you at this point of the game. This will allow you to rush in as far as possible against your enemies, and this range in the skill 2 is pretty nasty. The ultimate will continue to do basically the same thing as it will. Now, if you do want to, or if you feel like it's necessary, you could put a second skill point into skill 2 at level 8. It just really depends on the situation, but I think most times you will end up going skill 1 there. Then finally, when you hit level 9 and 10, you invest into your ult. Then at level 10, you get skill 3. And then from level 11, you max out your ultimate. And this is how things will be looking in most games. You get to level 11. I don't think you really get farther than that unless the game is super elongated. And at that point, you just will end up maxing out skill 3 regardless. But that's kind of how things will look, I think, in a normal game for Bardock. And that's what I personally recommend for his own skill levels. So next we'll be talking about Bardock's best supporter, and funny enough, it's actually not going to be Rildo or Spopovich, as I think a lot of other characters would actually run. And again, it makes sense because Bardock literally has Wrath built into his kit. He does not need a Rildo or anyone. I mean, if you want to be super extra annoying, you could use Rildo into his skill 2 or skill 2 into Rildo. I think that can be pretty nasty, but it feels like overdoing it. I would honestly rather have Kaba because Bardock's already quite tanky, right? But I feel like already having Wrath is more important than just having more defense and making yourself even more tankier. This could help your allies around, boss, in case there's so many like a Broly supers aimed, on boss, or just like a bunch of other huge key blasts and your allies have this defense buff. I think it can matter. And especially characters like, maybe you're running Kid Gohan, for example, and he has a lot of defense up in his kit already. That'll just stock on top of each other and allow these characters to be really strong defensively. Or again, with this plus defense step, it just makes you take very little damage. So I think Kaba is arguably the best option for him. Now, I mean, some would argue Tao Pai Pai or, Icarus. But again, I think this is more so of like, if you're trying to rat and be like a ratting Bardock, like, backdooring towers, I just don't really think that it's necessary in comparison to what I feel like Bardock likes to be, which is super aggressive. But I mean, I wouldn't say it's like, I would argue, you probably would get more use out of this on Bardock than this. So, I mean, that's all I'll say about it. But I think that Kaba is going to be the de facto best helper for this guy. Finally, we have divine combo cards for Bardock, and I feel it is also extremely straightforward with this guy. First card, I would go too easy. It's just a de facto card for most tank characters in the game. Build up, unfortunately, I know there's some people who defend build up. It is not good anymore, in my opinion, for the amount of time and stuff you have to put into it. Too easy is just right off the rip, really good for early fights. Again, it could also work a little bit for Bardock's passive, which wants you to continue fighting and keeping his gauge up. It's also nice in tandem with skill 2, who also gives you extra HP. Then this further can give you even more extra HP. I just think it's just works perfectly with what Bardock wants to go ahead and do. The next, I would personally go Steel Skin. I think just having Steel Skin on top of his existing defensive passive will allow him to just be extremely tanky in most case scenarios. Now, if you really want, or depending on the matchup, if you're going against like a KO that's really annoying you, or is just like doing so much damage to you and you feel like you need barrier, I could definitely see the option. Or if you want to even go a little more of a damage Bardock build, you could also go Giant Slayer. But I think 8-9 times out of 10 I would go Steel Skin in this guy, and very situationally you could go ahead and choose one of these two cards depending on what you're really feeling, because again they're generally like nice cards, more so Giant Slayer than Solid Barrier. But Bardock's role isn't damage, so I don't see why you would really even go this unless you're just being a bit stubborn. Then finally, for the final card, we would go Defense Step. I don't think there's an argument for any other card. I mean, Limit Break and Jump is nice, but again, I feel like Bardock isn't really needing to escape out of many situations. And worst case scenario, if you do, you have the skill 3 as an option if you find yourself needing to do so. But most times, like, Defense Step I think will just be the better scenario, and with that you will have a full defensive boost, which will again continue just make Bardock even tankier. So that's why I do really like the triple green setup on this guy. Very straightforward with his divine combo cards, not really a lot of other options for him personally. All right, and we have a gameplay example as I like to provide at the end of most of these videos. This gameplay is actually provided to us by Annie. Annie is another Gekishin Squadra content creator who does make very good gameplay videos. I recommend checking Annie out. They will be added as a collaborator as part of this video. But I feel like this match does actually show pretty nicely what Bardock's able to do in a multitude of situations. So again, we could really hop into it. And this first part is just typical laning, so there's not really much to say about it. We could just 2 times it in case you do want to see. But it's essentially just, oh hey, making sure you grab your skill 1, making sure that you know you're saving most of your stocks for the farm right here and for the actual laning fight. Again, that's really important. You want to make sure you have all of the 3 stocks available and not waste them early on. I made that mistake once, and let's just say it didn't go too pretty. So right here it is a Bardock versus Bardock matchup. Nani does really good right here with applying pressure to Goku and just pushing Goku really back so that he already has to heal. Now, I feel like right here, Bojack probably could have already just gone straight for the Kai instead of just attacking Bardock, since, you know, the whole point of Bardock right here is to just kind of push the enemies back off the Kai and keep them aggroed away. Now, Bardock right here was trying to get a little bit of hits on towers, so that's why Annie just had to go back and stop that. Goku is getting very close to stopping Bojack, but as we see here with a very smart skill 2 application, Goku wasn't able to like Kaioken and rush over to Bojack and end up getting the final kill on him. Now, unfortunately, what this does mean is that Goku was able to just basically have free reign on the Kai, but bare minimum, they were able to get a punish here on almost called him Bojack again, on Bardock. And with this advantage, they were able to basically steal all the mid farm, or at least as much as they possibly could, from Goku, who's already so low. So this opened up tons of possibilities. Unfortunately, Goku did vanish right before the final hit, which does, again, really suck. But right here, they steal all the farm on the enemy's team side. And then on top of that, they're able to get the last bit of farm in the middle on the right side right here. So from here, it's just applying skill 2, making sure that Bardock can attack the Kai, and they were able to successfully take it. Now, this is, of course, you know, Bojack's time to go ahead and go up to boss and make sure that they're able to secure boss. At least that would be the ideal scenario. Unfortunately, as ideal as it would be for, you know, Bardock to go up to top lane, since this is Clouds and he did have to wait behind to make sure that they weren't able to get backdoored, since there is no visual on Bardock. And lo and behold, that is exactly what happened. Bardock tried to get a sneaky backdoor there. Now, funny enough, Bardock didn't even have the the ultimate available, which is really, again, hilarious. Unfortunately, they did lose at Jackie Chan, but bottom lane is still going quite well for the time being, and it's not like they have lost particularly any crazy tower damage. From here, it's just making sure that they do get the rest of the bosses. And just making sure that as much farm is stolen as possible. Now, with the 2-level advantage, basically you're able to bully the enemy right here pretty easily and just steal all their farm. Like, look at that. Bardock is doing literally no damage whatsoever to this enemy Bardock. And now it's a 3-level advantage, so can't really push in anymore to do anything, or else you're just going to get heavily punished for it. And from here, it's just kind of making sure you're getting this farm and preparing for the next boss, which goes up in 30 seconds. Sealing this mid farm and continuing to deny XP from the enemy team is also going to be very important. Now, also because of the clouds, can't really leave tower completely alone. Have to stay a little bit by it and make sure that no one sneaks up. But it does look pretty nice from here. And Broly is getting that final bit of back farm to go ahead and head to boss. Bardock was able to get the transformation off right here. And again, does have a 2-level lead over the tank as well. And a 1-over lead over the rest of the enemy team. So looking really good so far. At this point, you know, the Annie's team does have a huge level advantage. Super Saiyan Goku was able to get pressured off boss and just killed instantly. Oob was able to get pressured off boss and killed by hits. Gohan is pretty close to dying right here, and he is gone. From this point, it is pretty much just taking out Bardock. Unfortunately, Super Saiyan, almost said Super Saiyan Goku. Unfortunately, Bardock did get KO'd right there, which is very not ideal. Now, Bardock here went, you know, kind of back and forth to try and decide if he was going for hit or the boss. Bardock ended up going straight for the boss. But right here, again, it was a very smart ultimate from Annie. And, of course, this is why you hold your ultimate for boss and only in very emergencies like this. Perfect aim right here. Perfect angle for the ultimate to be used. And right here, Bardock gets pushed off boss right before, you know, the enemy Bardock was able to do anything. And they now gain that boss advantage, which is going to be really, really useful. It also prevents Oob from getting Nappa. Oob with Nappa buff is pretty nasty, so preventing that is, you know, arguably more important than getting Jackie Chun, honestly. So that's also a really good thing. From here, it's kind of just being, I guess, a little bit annoying and making sure that they're not able to do too much. However, in this spot, using skill 2, they were able to actually take out both Super Saiyan Goku and Kid Gohan, and hit right there was able to get the final blow. If not, Bardock would have been able to do that as well. Then from here, again, since they have the team advantage in terms of numbers, we're able to just go into this tower and steal it. So at this current moment, they are at a pretty big advantage with 2 towers and having a boss kind of, I guess, even. Like it's even bosses, 1-on-1 each. Now, Oob was able to get pushed out of tower due to Bardock's skill 1 and confirmed a kill, which is, again, really nice considering that is also right before boss. So Oob's not going to be just like there for boss. Oob's going to have to travel over. So that was a pretty huge kill because of what Bardock's able to do and just utilizing his kit effectively. Now here, it's just making sure that they're able to get this boss, which will be really, really important. There's no visual on anyone, and now Andy could go back down considering that there's only 3 seconds left. We see here that Super Saiyan Goku is already very low due to hits, so just by applying a little bit of pressure and Broly coming in and stopping, they're able to get a kill on both hits, or not hit again, Super Saiyan Goku and Kid Gohan, which is really huge. Even though Oob's around, it's not really the biggest deal ever. And now Bojack, I think Bojack and Broly are actually going towards boss. Andy is causing a distraction right here where it's like, okay, they have to pick to either protect tower or go for boss right here. So this max burst, unfortunately, I think barely doesn't hit due to Bardock's ultimate exploding, but it doesn't really matter because they still win this regardless, right? They either would have gone tower or they would have gone boss. And if the enemy team even did end up getting boss, they would have still been only at 1 tower versus 3 towers. And he does die here, but not really the biggest deal of all time. Now, unfortunately, Oob was able to sneak a max burst on the tower, which was a bit unfortunate. And Oob is now going to try and get a little extra hit. Actually, no. I think Oob went to heal. It was Super Saiyan Goku here that went to go get the extra hit. They did lose both front towers for this, which is, again, unfortunate. But at this point in the game, it's very easy to chip those top towers at the levels that they're at. So it's okay, and especially since they have 2 bosses and triple boss is about to be right in their hands. As long as they are able to get that, they pretty much guaranteed win the game. They, again, also continue to get a KO on Goku and Kid Gohan basically right before boss, which is also just a really nice KO to have. Now, they'll be alive, like, in enough time to go ahead and secure a potential kill on the boss, but right here, we're going to see that the enemy does make a very predictable mistake, which is pretty much just going in from that certain, like, area where Hit just passed by around that section. Hit's already waiting, so that's obviously really good. Bardock, I'm not sure. I guess he was trying to backdoor there. He very easily got caught as well. Then we see Hit is waiting for the enemy team to pass by. Gets a little slow on Oob. Oob is able to get pushed away from boss, and he's at very low HP. Checking the map, we see Oob is leaving. And at that point, it's just with Hit annoying Super Saiyan Goku with Bardock applying pressure on Oob. It basically allowed Bojack and Broly to do their job in securing boss. And that is pretty much just a GG from now. There's really nothing that enemy team could do at this point. And again, I'm sure you guys saw it during the match. Bardock had very good disrupt. Skill 2 usage is really nice. I think skill 1 usage is also really nice. And they ended up getting a win. I think really due to what Bardock's able to do as a tank. But also, you know, just good teamwork overall. So there is the Dragon Ball being taken by Broly. And that is that. So again, I hope you guys did enjoy this match, and this guy did help you with learning how to play Super Saiyan Bardock better. Appreciate y'all, and shout out to Annie for providing us this gameplay. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and peace out.